Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Guide to First Time. We found out on our last trip to Disney that you can actually have a lot of fun doing a half park day. This lightning lane strategy is just to give you the reassurance that you can still have an excellent time and do a lot, even if you're not taking advantage of the parks the full entire day. I felt like I got the most out of the money that we were spending. And if you're doing a park hop, I think this will be amazing because you can pre-schedule your lightning lanes for the morning park and then hop to Epcot, which is the park we're doing today. A little bit of a backstory here. This is from our last trip, the springtime surprise. I ran the 5K and the 10K. So Friday, the 5K, and Saturday, the 10K. My son ran the K. So for that Friday, I wanted to keep a very light and easygoing day to not overwhelm my kid. I'm always surprised how well he goes through the day and doesn't crash and burn and no tantrums. But, he gets tired and I wanted to make it easy. 7 days in advance, we were staying in Coronado Springs. 7 days in advance, we did book. I did book lightning lanes only for my son and my husband for that day because I've been to Epcot. I was actually planning to go to Epcot the day before by myself or 2 days before. So I didn't want to buy lightning lanes for me. I was planning to do a lot of the attractions by myself before they even got there. So that's a little bit of the convoluted backstory, but my point is I had those lightning lanes pre-booked, but as you know, even 7 days in advance, we were only planning to be at the park later in the afternoon, have a slow morning so my son could rest from the race. Even with that late afternoon, I had 3 rides booked. If my notes are correct, I booked Test Track, which is my son's favorite activity. They also haven't done Spaceship Earth, and they none of us actually had done Figment at that point. So I had those 3 lightning lanes. I also got single lightning lane for Guardians for all 3 of us. That was our first ride of the day. I booked for around 1:20, 1:30. And I just love Guardians. And I wasn't, after running, and I still had another race the day after, I did not want to stand in line more than I needed to. So I booked lightning lanes for that activity. All right. So we had those lightning lanes, but I wasn't really sure how it would be to get our first lightning lane and start rebooking that late in the day on a Friday during a race weekend. And I was so pleasantly surprised. So here's what happened. We came back. So we took the bus. I'm going to do an episode as well about the race because I think it's a lot different. And if you're doing it for the first time, it wasn't my first Disney race, but let's just say it, back when I ran, it was so many years ago, it was completely different. It was much more low key. So this time was pretty much my first time in a long, long time running a race at Disney. And I had my son, who is 10, with me. So those are 2 firsts I'm going to share in another episode. That day, we woke up at 3 a.m., got ready, in a 5K at Epcot, then came back to the room, showered, and we literally took a nap. Both of us, my son and I. My husband, who likes sleeping late, was still sleeping. It was, for him, no amount of time is enough, and we let him sleep this trip. It was one of the reasons why we only had half days at the park. And as pass holders is great, but I still wanted to get a lot of things done and not sit in lines. So lightning lanes was the way to go. Now, we woke up around like 11. My son and I were showered before, and my husband got ready. We all got ready, and we decided to go for lunch at Epcot, like want to say, now I'm missing the name of the restaurant. I think it's Creations. We love the chicken nuggets there. They're delicious, super crispy, and they are not that expensive. It's fast. So we went with what we already knew. So we got the bus at the hotel. We stay at Coronado. The bus was fairly often. We didn't have to wait long. And Epcot wasn't crazy when we got there around 12:30. So we got chicken nuggets on Creations. And then, as I mentioned on the previous episode, one of my biggest lessons learned on our July trip was to not like World Showcase and then Future Land or whatever it's called, like don't crisscross around the park for lightning lanes. Even if you have to wait a little bit, Epcot is one of those parks that it can take up to an hour. It can take an hour to go around the World Case. So walking to stand in line was not on our priority. So we started in the left side of the park, in the front of the park where Guardians is. My son was really interested in buying a few things at Treasures of Xandar. So we got our quick lunch and went to our first single lightning lane for Guardians. My son decided he did not want to ride. So we just took turns going in. It was amazing. I ran twice, which wasn't on my plan. I think I ran is the song that I've gotten the most. And definitely the funny thing about it, I never realized why they have the open trash cans right off the ride. But for the first time ever, I saw someone really throwing up, like just having a really bad time right after the ride. So now I know why they have those big trash cans in there, and it can definitely happen, but we don't usually suffer from it. It was all good. Test track, our must-do kind of lightning lane was later that afternoon around. So they went right after we stopped at Treasures of Xandar. We decided not to buy at that time because it was a big sword or like scepter, whatever he wanted. It was very big and awkward. So we decided to buy later in the day. They told us they have plenty of it. So we're like, when we're leaving the park, we'll stop by and get it because it was one of the things my son really wanted to do. We went to, and then I had lightning lanes for a Spaceship Earth and Figment lined up back to back. So while my son and my husband went to Spaceship Earth, I went to get a few of the flower and garden menu items. As you probably heard, it kind of drives all of our trips at this point, but my son is allergic to eggs and milk, and my husband doesn't eat milk as well. So we're very limited on what we can eat. And obviously, because he's a kid, I don't usually go around eating ice cream or all those things that he can't have. So I wanted to get the, what is it called? Nitrogen frozen mascarpone cheesecake, something like that. It was one of I think every festival has this nitrogen frozen, dessert that I never got to do it. So I went and walked there, got my frozen dessert, got another dessert on my way. And then they had already moved to Figment, and I rebooked. I got a Living with the Land lightning lane, and then once they got into Figment, I could see on the app that they had already used another lightning lane, so I got Soarin and Living with the Land. So we were pretty good, stacked up. It worked so well that I took turns, or that I was kind of just sitting and monitoring the lightning lanes because later in the day we wanted to get a Remy's, and that would be one of the ones that are super hard to get. And I couldn't see any opening at this point, so I was just constantly refreshing. In the future, though, I will try one of those apps that keep searching for your reservations. But for this trip, we kind of went a little bit more budget friendly. And I was just doing manually trying to refresh like every 5 minutes. So I met them outside of Figment after they ride it, and we walked back to the land. Again, we were trying to minimize walking around the park because I had the race I had another one coming, and Epcot is always hard on my legs for some reason. I don't know if it's the pavement is always kind of crowded with people just wandering around. Is one of those parks that people just like to walk around, and I totally get it. There's so much to see, but it just makes me a little bit claustrophobic, I guess. So I minimized walking. We went into the land pavilion, great AC, great spot to just take a break anyways. We did Living with the Land. My husband loves Dole Whip, so he went to get a Dole Whip, and he ended up at Sunshine Seasons, or I don't know, one of the ice cream places near us, and they only had lemon or lime, and he had that, but he wasn't really hitting the spot. So when he came back, we had a little bit of time between that and our second lightning lane, which was Mission Space. We didn't want to go back there because we also had Space220 reservations later that afternoon. So we're like, we're going to finish whatever we have to do here on this side of the park. Then we'll move back to where Mission Space is, and we'll stay for our dinner reservation, which is right next door. So we didn't want to move, but we didn't have reservation for Soarin. Our reservation for Soarin wasn't stacking up properly. It was Mission Space first, and then Soarin. We didn't want to go back and forward, and didn't want to miss our reservation for food as well. So we just sat there after Living with the Land, and literally I was just refreshing. While my son had like a frozen boba drink, he really liked it at Sunshine Seasons. I think that's the name. We just sat there in the cool air, and I was just refreshing, and I got a Soarin. They walked in. Right there, I just kept sitting down and waiting for them to come out of the ride, which is a Soarin, even if it's a walk-on, it still takes a long time, and it's not it's not one of my favorites anyway, so I was happy to just pass on that. While I was sitting there, I was looking at the menus, the little festival booklet that they give you at the front, and I found pineapple Dole Whip, which is my husband's favorite. So once they were out, we walked to, I think it's a pineapple stand that they have for the festival. It's right by the boat. So still in the front of the park, there is like a boat dock. And it's right in front. They had this pineapple stand, and they obviously had pineapple Dole Whip, which is his favorite. So we got that and just walked around back to Mission Space, which they did the green one. We always do the orange, and they did the green. It was okay. It wasn't great, but then it was right about time to go into our Space220 reservation. So that worked really well. We finished everything we wanted to do on the other side of the park, and then just stayed there for our reservation. We don't do Frozen. We did it once. It was the very first ride we did with my family back in July. And honestly, it was just meh. Nobody really loved it much, so we haven't been there since. So the only other ride that we make the track down to World Showcase for is Remy, but at that point, I didn't have a reservation as well. So I was just trying and refreshing. We did Space220. It was absolutely great. We had a great time. And I know it's very expensive. I think for the food, I can see how it gets mixed reviews. But my son is into space and all of that kind of lore. And so riding a spaceship up to the restaurant, and how they kept it kind of in character. Even when we asked to go to the restroom, they're like, oh, you can only go to the restroom in space. You're going to go to the restroom in space. And we're like, oh, no, we really got to go. No more, getting into the whole character, the whole story. We didn't know much about going in, but you just go in an elevator. It's like you're being transported to a space station. And the elevator is kind of a mini ride, which is so fun. My son really loved that restaurant, I think mostly for the ride. And then when we sat down by the window. So all the windows were like gigantic windows to space where they had projections of some astronauts and asteroids. So cool. And he got a cup with a flashing kind of jam inside, like an ice cube he just loves all those blinking lights, things that Disney gives out every now and then. So we got one of those drinks. He was happy. We ordered a meal. It took forever. Again, because of our allergies, it just takes a long time. They have to bring the chef in. They make our food. Our food honestly takes double the time because of the allergies, which we very much appreciate that they're taking the time and they're very concerned about it. But it's just, we don't go for a sit-down meal for less than an hour and a half, like ever. So it took us a long time. In between, I did end up booking the Remy's for 8 p.m. So not that early, but the park didn't close until 9:30. So I was pleasantly surprised that we got Remy. And it was broken for some part of the day, like it usually happens. So definitely it was a nice surprise that we got one at 8, which worked out super well. We left the restaurant. Let me look at my notes. Our reservation was 6:20, and I think they got us in around 5:50. But we didn't leave until 7:45. It was a very long time just sitting and waiting. And they were very busy. So the waiter wouldn't come back around for our bill for a while. But we do appreciate that they're taking the time, like I said. My son wanted to get his scepter at Treasures of Xandar. So while we were there, we went in and bought it. Really wanted to go to the Rock the Garden concert. Berlin was the musical show that night, but it started, I think, at 8:30 or 8:15, something like that. And I couldn't make the trek all the way there. I would have to go and walk fast all the way there. I just didn't have it on me at that time. My legs were starting to hurt a little bit and get heavy. So I just sat with all the stuff that my son bought. I sat by the dock, right in front of the dock that goes across the World Showcase. They were closed. No boats were after 7:30, which I also did not realize. If the boats were running, I would probably have jumped on a boat, but they were not. So I just sat there. I had a long conversation with another person that was there alone. I didn't realize how many people actually go alone to the parks, but they do. And it's so fun when I was alone and waiting, or the days before my family arrived. I had very long and very pleasant conversations with a lot of people that just go to the parks alone. And it felt very good. It didn't feel weird or like awkward. So highly recommend if you're just killing time there, just, chat up with someone and get to know them, get to know some strangers in the park. They made the trek while I was sitting there having a conversation and holding their stuff. They went to Remy is always a favorite. Even my husband loves it, which he's not much into the parks, not as I am, I guess, or my son. So it's always nice to find something he genuinely likes and enjoys. So Remy is it for him. And then when they came back, I was overtired, and everybody, even my son, was like, I could have pushed for another ride, another lightning lane. We could have gone into a reverse rope drop and do a last Guardians of the Galaxy, in line. But we were all very tired, and my son was like, Mom, I'm so tired of rides. I went into so many rides today. I'm all right out. I'm like, that's so cool. And that really goes to saying that, sometimes pushing to just get there super early might not be the best strategy for our family in particular. My husband hates it, so I have to get him out of the house is always a problem. I get cranky too, to be fairly honest. After like 7, 8 p.m., I get cranky. So for us, it worked super well to just plan for a half day, but just be present and also just enjoy the time. And we've done so many rides. Let me count here. I'm going to count Space220 as a ride because it was pretty fun and entertaining. I think it's kind of like this space version of meeting princesses and meeting characters. It was super fun and it was long. We did Test Track. I missed Test Track all along. So after Soarin, we got the Dole Whip and went to their Soarin Test Track reservation, which was around 5, and then they hopped into Mission Space. All right, so I missed that one. We did Remy's, Soarin, Living with the Land, Space220, I'm going to count, Test Track, Mission Space, Figment, Spaceship Earth, and Guardians. So we did 9 rides, and we didn't get to the park until like 12:30 or 1. And we left early. We left way before park close. I think 8:30 we were at the bus stop waiting to go back. That's just to say how much, and I got food from the festival, which I always skip. The only thing, 2 things we didn't do, and I still need to plan for a trip to go around the World Showcase. We always kind of run around it just quickly, and it's one of our bucket list things to do is kind of enjoy every country and go inside and really poke around. And I didn't see the show. I didn't see the concert, which I was excited to do. But other than that, the Lightning Lanes worked really well. I was able to kind of get the reservations, all the reservations I wanted, but also at the time I wanted. And this is the most eye-opening part of this whole experience is that I remember how stressed I was on the first visit to just get a reservation, right? Like even if I had to zigzag around the park, even if I had to get one at 8 p.m. while, early morning, I was so nervous about not getting a reservation. And this time around, we just prioritized being in the right spot, being the right reservation in the right spot. And it worked so much better. We still got all the reservations we wanted. And even if we wanted to do Frozen or something like that, if the ride is not broken, we could have done it. So that is just my hot tip. And one of the most eye-opening things for me this trip is you can still get everything. Like, don't let the craze or not getting all the rides booked perfectly deter you from just sitting and going with your plan and hoping that something's going to open up. Again, the park wasn't crazy busy, but it wasn't empty either. So there was people there. There was a lot of people there. So I would definitely give this strategy a try, especially if you didn't get everything that you wanted or early on. I would change my lightning lanes to earlier and just keep refreshing. I feel like it could work for most days at the park versus just keep holding a late night reservation in fear that this wouldn't, it wouldn't work for you or you wouldn't get it. And definitely prioritizing being where you are and getting the ones near you. So no FOMO when you go for a lightning lane. I also feel like this is a great way to approach if you're park hopping. So don't get too stressed. Once you get to the park, go at your own pace. And by using just the refresh method, I guess, you can still get so many lightning lanes done and have a really great time without walking too many steps. And that's what I have for our first day as a family, our first half day at Epcot on our latest trip in April. I will be chatting, like I said, about the half day we had at Hollywood Studios next, just because it's really fresh in my mind. I want to get this out there. And And for that trip, I didn't even have pre-booked. I didn't know we needed lightning lanes, but the park was crazy busy. So if you get into a park and it's so busy and you want to buy lightning lanes on the spot, let me tell you, it's possible. And I'm going to be going over how we did it and how many rides we did it and all the attractions, all the things we did to survive a super hot and super crowded park for half a day next. All right, guys, follow along. I'm having a lot of fun with this first podcast ever that I'm putting out there. It's fun for me to talk about Disney. It's fun for me to talk about planning, budgeting, and how to make the most out of any experience. And if you have a topic you would like me to cover next, you can leave a comment on where you watch or you listen to podcasts. We're also posting those episodes on YouTube. And I made a commitment with myself. If I do 10 episodes and it doesn't feel like I'm struggling to do it, then I'm gonna start putting some of the videos together, kind of like a vlog or an image-based podcast for YouTube. So you guys can see some of the things because Disney is so visual, right? Like in traveling in general, every trip that we go through, obviously you want to see what I'm talking about, which is really exciting. The video might be in the works, but I won't promise until I get a good hang of the podcast thing. All right. Thank you for following along. You can always kind of subscribe so you get notifications when I'm releasing. I'm going to release 5 episodes and then kind of go every other day or every 3 days. And then I'm going to start releasing weekly once I have 5 episodes for you guys to kind of go through. All right. That's it. And welcome to the show one more time.